Hello, I'm David Penn, Research Analyst with Finovate. We are here at Finovate 2022 in San Francisco, California. Joining me today is Boden. She's founder and CEO of Starling Bank. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Fabulous. So let's start off with a little bit about yourself and the work you do for Starling.
I founded Starling in 2014. I had a long career in banking technology, running banking projects and technology projects in big banks across the world. And I decided in 2014 to quit my job to start a very, very new bank called Starling.
You had your own great resignation then.
Yeah.
Well, talk a little bit about the catalyst. What made you decide? Again, you had all this experience working with a lot of different countries, a lot of different companies, a lot of different places. What made you decide to go to UK and start up your own setup?
Well, lots of things had changed. Technology had changed all around the world, and organizations were doing very, very interesting things with technology. But the banking sector back in 2014 was still looking backwards. They were still looking at the financial crisis, trying to repair their balance sheets, trying to repair their financials, and they weren't really looking forward about what they could do to improve customer experience or customer satisfaction. So I went around the world talking to big banks and talking to technology companies, coming here to the Valley, talking to tech companies and asking what they were doing. And I came to the decision in 2014 that wouldn't it be great to start a new bank? Wouldn't it be great to have a new bank with all new technology, a different way of engaging with customers, being fair to customers? And yes, here we are to 2022, and things have gone from strength to strength.
Yes, it's a really interesting point that you raised. We're here in 2022, and we look back to to 2014. Seems like a millennial ago. The financial crisis, even more before that, and things that we now take for granted, like the importance of the customer experience. And we think that in the wake of the financial crisis, customer experience. I don't know if we even want to talk about what the customer experience was like in those days because of what had happened with the banks. One thing I am a little bit curious about is you said banks were very much backward-looking, really weren't looking at technology. I'm just a little bit curious, when you went and talked to these technologists person as a banker, how were you received? Did they kind of said, what are you doing here?
Yeah, well, I sort of, turned up talking to CTOs and CFOs in the organizations, and everybody wanted to explain the big transformation project, the big change project they were embarking upon, and it would do this to the branches, it would do this to the mobile apps, and it was all about, sort of cost savings. It wasn't about innovation. It was all about little repairs here and there rather than doing something quite dramatic. And the biggest thing they had in their plans was we're going to refurbish the branches and change the colours of the sofas. So I realised that technology could enable, technology could do so much, and the banks weren't being brave enough. And that's what brought me to the decision to start a bank.
Oh, fantastic. Well, let's fast forward to the present. You're fresh off the stage from your keynote here at FinovateSpring, and I just want to make sure I get the title correct. Why digital transformation projects generally fail, and how to make sure yours doesn't. I was wondering if maybe you could give us some of the key takeaways from your conversation there.
Yeah, I was talking today about my experience in the banking sector, leading big projects, and how organizations have become far more fixated on minimizing the risk of change, much more fixated about let's do small projects around the core. Let's not change the core. Let's make big decisions at the senior level. Don't empower people. And really, I was talking about culture change. It was all about, in order to be more successful, in order for big banks to be successful and compete with the new startups such as Starling, they have to have new technology, but above all, a culture of being prepared to change. And I was trying to empower the people in the audience, the CTOs, the CIOs, to knock on the door of the CEO and say, we can be better. We can embark upon technology projects, and we can compete with the new guys.
Yeah, that's really something. I tell you, the more I listen to folks talk about technological change, the more it seems I start to hear, when the conversations really start to get deep, I start to hear more about cultural change.
Yeah. I think that what we've done in the banking industry over many years is to worry people that if they make too many changes or things go wrong, there will be consequences. And with the right sort of methodologies, the right sort of culture, you can do a little change and often and avoid those big transformations and get to your target environment much quicker, much safer, and you then can have the opportunity of providing your customers with that wonderful experience.
Yeah, very, very interesting. I'm curious, what would you say, looking back, say maybe from 2014 when you launched Starling to say the present, the past 8 odd years, what are some of the more interesting innovations you've seen in terms of things that financial services companies, fintechs, have really started to catch on with?
I think that I talk about the war on cost base rather than the war on innovation. I think we've had a lot of innovative products in the last couple of years, the big banks copying the new startups, delivering those features and functions to customers. However, they've done it by basically increasing their cost base rather than reducing it. And it's put them in a very uncompetitive state. And I think that what we're seeing now is the big banks deciding it can't go on. We can't keep bolting things onto our existing core. We have to do something dramatic. Otherwise, we may have some interesting features, but we won't be able to compete on the financials of the organization. So I think that we are now at that stage.
Sure, sure. What would you say is the main driver for organizations in terms of their innovation, in terms of change, and in terms of who is keeping up and maybe who is not keeping up?
Yeah, I think different organizations are addressing it in different ways. I think that some big banks are actually starting flanker brands. You know, sort of digital. They get a warehouse down the street, and they all go in there dressed as jeans and try and be an innovative starter. And some of those succeed, and but most fail. And then you have the big organizations that decide to embark upon their 20-year transformation project. And what I'm telling people is neither of those are correct, really. You need to do something which is have the bravery, have the courage to embark upon changing your core systems. However, you need to come up with an implementation methodology that does a little and often, and that way you'll get an organization that's really fit for purpose.
Absolutely. Plus, I would imagine that with those small changes that happen frequently, you really start to build up that sort of internal strength, and that confidence that, hey, we can do this. Look at what we've accomplished going forward. Speaking of accomplishment, it might be a good opportunity to talk a little bit more about Starling Bank, which is quite an accomplished bank, has done quite a lot of things in the UK, won a lot of awards, a lot of commendations and recognition. And I guess the main question I would just have is, what's next for Starling Bank? Yeah,
in the UK we're very, very successful. We've built a whole new technology stack. We have a new bank, a new banking license, 3 million customers. We have something like 8% of market share in business banking. That is huge. We've done in 3 years what some banks have done in 300. But that's because we have this remarkable technology stack, which we call Engine. And we have lots of banks around the world asking us if they can use Engine. And so we don't plan to get a banking license in the States, but banks in the States will be able to use our Engine technology. So we're going to be software as a service based on Engine. So lots of organizations around the world can have a bit of the Starling magic.
Oh, very good. So we might not get the whole thing, but we're going to get the magic stuff. Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for spending a little bit of time talking with us, getting us to know a little bit more about Starling Bank. I know a lot of the people here have heard about the bank, so I think it's a great opportunity for them to get to know a little bit more about the bank and the woman behind it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us as well.